find a suitable solution. Whether the Exchange Control Act should be, amended or whatever. I think otherwise there's no easy fund or the low-cost fund for the sector to use for the outreach expansion. At the same time, the government and the central bank and some donors support the already established for the registered commercial banks and the specialized banks to get some subsidies in the low rate funds outside, and they are in a position to into the remote areas. But we accept that this issue, but it is still it has not been sustainably or permanently solved. But we have discussed recently also with the same issue with the community, the microfinance industry as the superiors of the government and the central bank, and they are also concerned this thing. They will take some action. That therefore the microfinance industry should come forward with some suitable proposals. I think nearby in near future there will be discussion with the Treasury, and I think they will discuss this issue also. I think at the moment I am not in a position to give exact solution or the reply. Then that is the position. But I don't know the other countries how they relax this thing and how they use this low cost funding to reach to outreach expansion. Anyway, we have taken down this the issue, and it is now in the agenda of for discussion. We hope we will be able to find a solution for this long-term issue.
Okay, thank you. Well, one more question from, I think there was a gentleman over here. Yes.
My name is Dharmaraj Pandey from Nepal. I am chairman of Microfinance Bankers Association and CEO of Paschim Anchal Gramin Vikas Bank, Nepal. My concern is that with Mr. Philip Brown, Nepal has not been mentioned and has not been illustrated in your presentation. Nepal is providing service more than 2 million poor households, especially women are included into groups and provided services. And the country is mostly the hill and mountainous side, and it is difficult to reach and to provide the services. But my concern is that here is not illustrated in your study and in your presentation. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Is your question that Nepal wasn't included? Is that? Oh, yes. No, Nepal's a very important country. No, Thank you. No, okay. I think that it's now we're due to finish by 12 o'clock. So I do have a series of questions here, and we could keep this debate going. But I think it's probably time to wrap up. This subject, as we started off on this journey, is a very broad one. And as Mr. Nimmo Fernando pointed out, microfinance is just one part of inclusive finance. So that we do need to look at inclusive finance overall. We've touched on quite a number of different issues as we've been along the road here. I emphasized the client at the start, and it was brought out the importance of segmentation of clients in terms of youths, in terms of women, in terms of depositors versus borrowers. Segmentation was very important. Commercialization and the impact of commercialization was raised as an issue. I think we've seen that the role of regulation in the Philippines has been a positive factor, a very positive factor in terms of the structure that's enabled card to grow. We've seen in Sri Lanka the sort of hands-on and receptive approach that the central bank has taken to development. We've seen, just going back to client service, or clients, the importance of actually client service with the 135 standards that CARD adopted for their insurance. I think Kuru managed to position in terms of Sri Lanka that it is a very broad parish in terms of providers, and self-help groups and regional banks, all play part of the in the story. I was interested that at one stage there was a comment made about, with CARD, there was discussion on mergers and the fact that CARD had grown through a merger. That's obviously one topic as well, which I think in terms of challenges on the road ahead, as it were, will come up. It was also, I think CARD also highlighted in terms of the challenges, the need to actually support borrowers in developing their businesses with the technical development. So I think there was quite a lot that actually came out of that piece. So I must thank the panelists and for all of you for participating in this session. I must admit that normally as a participant, that when I'm listening to presentations, it's not necessarily what is said, but what I think about along the way and the notes I write down, on the subject and to go away with. So I hope that you all have got some thoughts, out of the session this morning and issues that you're going to take away to the other sessions of this conference, which I think, based on the start of the conference, will be a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip, and everyone. I certainly agree that many of the subjects that were touched on in the panel session will be addressed over the course of the next 3 days. What is financial inclusion? We had the question and Namal gave us an answer, but I think we have a long way to go on that front. But in terms of policy and regulation, the influence of commercial capital, savings mobilisation, youth entrepreneurship, financial education, all issues that we're going to be addressing over the course of the next few days. Before I finish up with just a small amount of housekeeping, I'm going to invite the BWTP Network Chairman, Mr. Chandula Abiwikrama, to present gifts to the speakers. And then upon the completion of that, just a little bit of housekeeping before we go to lunch. Thank you, Chandula. Thank you, Chandula. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We've been asked a lot about internet access. We have an internet cafe located upstairs in the Saturn room, which is just above us here in the atrium. There'll be a sign. They'll be signed out the front, so just look for that. In terms of field visits and workshops, which we've been advertising and asking people to register for the last month, they are now full, I'm sorry to say. There was plenty of opportunity to register, and we're glad that they've been full up. And I do want to draw attention to the fact that the Housing and Inclusive Finance session, which is tomorrow at 1:30, is open for everyone also, and there's still positions available in that. The last thing is an announcement for Invest Asia Microfinance institutions. Tonight is your workshop at 5:45. Please go to the Secretariat and collect your kit and sign up for the workshop tonight. And that applies to MFIs that have already registered for that event. So without further ado, I invite everyone upstairs for lunch, which is kindly hosted by... Interesting session. Just a bit of background for the AMF 2010 agenda. As I was saying this morning, we did a survey of Banking with the Poor members in all national networks in the region. And they were asked to respond to 50 topics on the issue of financial inclusion. So a huge range of topics on microfinance and financial inclusion. And the current agenda is a product of a long process of looking at those responses, but one that came up time and time again was governance and management. And I think as a network, Banking with the Poor really wants to respond to this issue of the need for capacity building of both member institutions and institutions in the whole region. So therefore, we think this issue is important and timely. And to moderate and guide the speakers through this session, I'd like to introduce the Managing Director of Repute, Mr. Rajendra Teragaraja from Hatton National Bank. Thank you, Ter.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first session post-lunch, which is dedicated to governance and management. We have three reputed speakers from the region as well as our own Sri Lanka. Let me very briefly introduce